It says you are live.
Oh yeah, we are live. Sorry, a slight technical problem with the Instagram. Sorry if the sound on Instagram isn't very good. And we're on the afternoon break on the third day of questioning of the undercover police manager Bob Lambert. We have been looking at the deployment of HN81, cover name Dave Hagan, who infiltrated Movement for Justice, but more significantly, spied on the Lawrence family justice campaign. I'm joined by Belinda Harvey, who was deceived by Bob Lambert into an intimate relationship when he was an undercover officer. We've been shown a lot of the reports that Dave Hagan, cover name Dave Hagan, HN81, filed when he was spying on the Stephen Lawrence justice campaign. This is possibly one of the more sort of high profile of the reasons why this inquiry is happening. We know that Dave Hagan has refused to appear at the inquiry. He claims ill health. He's managed to get out of appearing. Yeah. What have you made of what Bob Lambert's had to say about it all?
Yeah, well, Bob Lambert is claiming that reports from the officer in regards to the Lawrence family and the Lawrence family campaign were just coincidental because the officer was actually targeting the Movement for Justice. So it was just because they were interested in the Lawrence family that the police were interested in. The STS were interested in it, which seems absolutely ridiculous. He was clearly put in there in the first place in order to spy on the Lawrence family. It seems clear to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think like when you look at the content of those reports, you just see, huge amounts of detail about the Lawrence family, about the views of Neville Lawrence, particularly that information about how the marriage of Neville and Doreen Lawrence had broken down, how they were secretly separated, only pretending to stay together for the good of the campaign. Lots of tittle-tattle sort of information, really, which clearly had no policing value. I mean, repeatedly, David Barr was going through the content of these reports and going, "There's nothing unlawful in there, is there?" Yeah. And Lambert he kept saying, "Oh no, it wasn't a spy in the Lawrence camp. The fact that we had an undercover officer inside the Lawrence family support campaign wasn't a sign that we had a spy in the camp." Yeah, I mean, obviously they did,
Yeah, clearly they did, and he was put there intentionally. So there's no denying that, really.
Yeah, I mean, repeatedly. I mean, apart from the stuff about the marriage, which Lambert was just like, well, I can't really. He couldn't figure out a way to defend that. Essentially,
no. I mean, it's just so inappropriate to be putting in official police reports this kind of information, and it's really quite disturbing.
What was particularly notable, of course, was that this was all in the lead up to the Stephen Lawrence inquiry, which, I mean, anybody would have known that the day that the five accused, the five who were accused of the murder of Stephen Lawrence and the attack on Dwayne Brooks appeared at the inquiry, it was going to be a flashpoint.
Yeah, I mean, and apparently that's the main bit of evidence that the officer got, that this was going to be the flashpoint, and as Bob quite rightly said, that it didn't need a genius or an undercover cop to work that one out.
No, but what's notable is that the information that he does have, which like 3 days before the event, that Movement for Justice is going to push for some sort of thing to happen, is not passed on to the police who are doing the policing of the inquiry. No, there was no changes made to the security of the event. So what was the use?
Yeah, I mean, we don't actually know if it was passed on, do we?
But we assume nothing changed. I mean,
there was no changes. There was no material changes as a result of the intelligence. So not only was the intelligence not really needed because everyone knew anyway, it also wasn't acted upon. Is what seems to have come from the afternoon.
Yeah, and it also seemed very clear that the day that HN81's deployment. I mean, initially he was deployed in Fulham. It's only when you have the announcement of the Stephen Lawrence inquiry that he's moved to Brixton on a roving brief. Basically, go out there, find any sort of group to infiltrate, so that you can be used. It's clearly to report on the Stephen Lawrence inquiry. Initially, Interestingly, unlike any other sort of undercover officer in the past who was told to pretend to have an interest in left-wing politics, he was told to just have an anti-police persona and possibly infiltrate the Legal Defence and Monitoring Group. But he manages to find Movement for Justice instead.
Yeah.
So that'll do. They'll put him in there. And you get this fiction that, you know, that they're only interested in the Stephen Lawrence campaign because Movement for Justice are interested in the Stephen Lawrence campaign. It doesn't stand up.
Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't. You know, they were just coincidentally there, and he was like rolling his eyes. Well, it's nothing to do with us, nothing to see here.
Yeah.
Really, that's just by chance. They were attending the Lawrence family meetings and attending the stewards meetings as well.
Yeah, I mean, there was a number of times where Barr had to say to Lambert, "Are you seriously saying that you had no interest in the Stephen Lawrence inquiry? This was a major event. The fact that campaigners had managed to create enough momentum to have a public inquiry, that was the people who were being accused of behaving wrongly in this whole situation was the Metropolitan Police. You're saying the SDS had no interest in that?" And he's, "Oh, no interest at all. We had correctly identified as Movement for Justice for infiltration, and they just so happened to be interested in the Lawrence inquiry."
Yeah, it makes you wonder what else, you know, if they'd have been interested in something else, then the whole course of the police interest would have changed. I don't think so. It's very clear that he was put there intentionally, and that Bob is not willing to say that either.
Yeah, and I mean, it really isn't viable. We just had some comments, one here from the Campaign Opposing Police Surveillance, which says, circular arguments from Bob, SDS spies only reported on the activities groups they were deployed into because they were deployed to monitor these groups. Yeah, I mean, it was incredibly circular logic. I mean, we've come to kind of get used to this really from Bob now, is that, you know, he's just trying to swat away, really.
Yeah, I mean, one thing he said, which isn't specifically about this, but is that, you know, the reports, they put a lot of personal details about everybody in all the reports at that time, which is sort of a thread that we've heard throughout the different tranches, and this is no different. You know, it's just getting more and more detailed, really, starting. But it's always been putting in stuff about people's divorces and girlfriends and what they looked like and what their hair was like. You know, it's nothing new, really. So Bob addressed that by saying, yeah, in today's context, it does seem wrong, but in those days, it was just quite normal.
There was a lot of stuff about, you know, the percentage of the crowd that was black, the socioeconomic makeup, you know, whether they appeared to be, you know, were women or not, you know, and it's all very, you know, and so what is the policing value of that?
Yeah, the actual demographics, exactly how many, whether they were middle class or working class and what colour they were. I mean, really, it's, you know, it's a very sad situation that all, so much public money has been spent on this, you know, on something that actually in the course of time has shown to be a fantastic advance in society. You know, the Lawrence family have done a great deal to advance things in that regard.
Just another comment here from Campaign Opposing Police Surveillance. There are too few questions about the purpose of SDS reporting WOG. What was about pursuing any legitimate policing purpose?
No.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was, you know, overwhelmingly, you know, about avoiding embarrassment for the police by getting one step ahead of those who would hold them to account.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, you could, if you really looked at it, you could almost say that the whole of the SDS was just about protecting Bob Lambery and his history from when he was an undercover cop. He just wanted to keep all that quiet, and so everything sort of develops on from that, really.
You've been following Bob this week. What have you made of the way in which he's been giving evidence? I mean, he started off word salading a lot. I mean, I kind of feel like today he's starting to get trapped a bit by Barr.
Yeah, and I think earlier on in the day, a meeting actually asked him if he could start telling the truth about something earlier in the day. And I must say, I think there's been a slight change since meeting said that to him. He seems to be, he hasn't said, "I can't recall" as many times, put it that way. However, he's still fluff and, you know, skirting around the issues and looking as though he wasn't really there. He's completely innocent. You think he's been, you know, an admin worker in the SDS rather than a man in charge?
Yeah, I mean, he seized upon the fact that he wasn't there at one particular meeting. It's a reason why he couldn't possibly know anything about this deployment, because he wasn't at one particular meeting. And
Yeah.
he has to be reminded that he was a manager at the time.
Yeah. I mean, in summary, it's just there's nothing to see here.
Yeah.
Nothing to see here.
Yeah, that's very much the message that's going across. It's only a short break. I think we'll be going back in fairly soon. Anything else you'd like to add?
No.
Right, thanks for joining us. We'll do another one of these at the end of the day. I'll try and get a few people in on as a panel at the end. We can react to everything we've heard today from Bob. He will be back again tomorrow, so there's plenty more to come. Thanks for joining us, and see you all again soon. Bye for now.